Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to an interesting game that I was sent by one of our players here in this particular replay. This is, we're gonna call this, one of the vintage StarCraft episodes that I have been putting up across, the past few months or so. This one has actually jumped ahead just a little bit further than where we're already up to in our journey through the history of StarCraft, so bear with us. This is a little bit more of a, I suppose, a specialty vintage cast featuring a player that everyone will know of, and we all remember him from back in the day when he was one of the premier foreign players in the StarCraft 2 Wings of Liberty scene. Down at the bottom left hand side, still an honorary player and part of the team, it is Jinro from Team Liquid. Now, Jinro, of course, we all remember, the also known as the Gorilla Terran for his magnificent stature, and of course being one of the really strong Terran players in the foreign scene. Of course, there were a couple that were going around at the time, and of course in Wings of Liberty, Terran was quite a bit of a strong race during the early parts of it, but Jinro persisted, made it to GSL, got into the upper echelons of GSL, had some wonderful fights and some wonderful games. Particularly, I'm sure everybody will remember Jinro versus Hydra quite a while back. There was some very interesting games between the two players, and of course Jinro had his own interesting games against MC, and of course over time eventually did some wonderful had some wonderful runs at things like MLG and such. Was just a really great representative of the foreign scene for his time. Eventually, of course, retiring from the StarCraft 2 scene and sort of leaving us for quite a while, but his opponent over here is actually someone who is still in the game. He's still playing to this day, has been around obviously all this time. It is young Mr. Losira, who you will now know as Kangho, who still plays in the same team, interestingly enough. So he's stuck with the same team, stuck with the same race. Of course, there's very few race switches these days, but yeah, he's been sticking around for quite a while. One of the players who is very well known for having quite a high APM, and as you can see here, we are on Tal'Darim Altar, a map that was around for quite a while during the early parts of Wings of Liberty. Just to clarify, guys, I know I keep saying early Wings of Liberty. Obviously, it's not that early, but as a frame of reference, the particular patch that we're playing on is 1.3.6, which came out in July of 2011 sometime. So I don't actually know the exact replay. Jinro sent this one over to me and said, this was a pretty cool game, why don't you throw this one up? And so I said, alright, let's do it. Unfortunately, there was no sort of, no real date on the replay, so I am assuming it's somewhere between July and September of 2011, which was when this particular patch was active. Shortly after this patch was when the big 1.40 patch came out, which had a myriad of changes in it, including the Immortal range, racks build times, and all sorts of various things that were out there to try and change a bit of the balance in StarCraft 2. But as you can see, we'll just have a quick look at the builds that these two players are going for at the moment. Keep in mind, guys, because this is a much older, it's a much older system for StarCraft 2. I can't actually do some of the fancy tricks. Like obviously, there's no game heart. There's no, I can't do my my arrows and my area selection, that kind of stuff with SC2 Tactician, so I just have to stick with how it was back in the day. But yeah, Jinro has gone for, as we can see, it looks as if he's just going to go for a particular style that we still see to this day. The Hellions coming out here for the Terran player. He's going to be able to run about and kill off some of these Hellions that are moving around here, and well, he's just going to expand behind him. He's got the command center on the way. It does look very standard for how you would see a TVZ opening these days, even right now in Heart of the Swarm. This is still something which people will do as a very common way to gain some map control. Send out some Hellions, burn up some Lings, maybe grab a couple of the drones if possible. But yeah, this is all very standard here from Jinro. Meanwhile, from Losira, we do have a Bailey nest on the way. We can see that just building up at the back here. We've also got the injects continually coming out. Very nice stuff from Losira. As we said, a very high quality player, and one with wonderful mechanics as well. Looks like he is going to go around the back with some of these Lings. I'm not sure what these guys are up to. Perhaps they're just going to try and circumvent Jinro's Hellions, but it looks like they aren't going to go across the map. The Hellions are doing their best to try and roast up some of the Lings as much as they can. They are actually going to do a wonderful trade, and surely perhaps at this point Jinro must be thinking, wow, there are normally either a few more Lings or perhaps a queen or two out here. What is going on? And Part of the problem is that those lings that snuck their way across the map are now building up into some banelings here. At the moment, Jinro has no idea that that is coming, so he'll have to be, well, we'll see if he's prepared enough for it. Perhaps upon scouting that there aren't too many drones here at this natural base, he may have been able to detect that something fishy was going on. But here come the Banes, busting inside, taking down the reactor. One of the problems with Tal'Darim Altar is that your add-ons will actually sit out at the front door, which is not the best of situations to be in. Microing back through the racks here, it's very similar to a Brood War kind of game there, where the Marines are trying to micro through the 2 racks that are there, but the SCVs are trying to battle with the Lings as they make their way across the map. It looks as if Jinro is going to lose quite a few of his SCVs, actually microing them back quite nicely. Very well done there. He is going to be able to bring back a couple of the Hellions that survive, then he should be able to, as long as he's very slippery. Tries to micro about with those Hellions. Wonderful work from Jinro there. I think the workers lost that one. Wow, that is pretty damn impressive. Only 3 workers lost for the Terrifier. Are you kidding me? This little Hellion here has stayed alive the entire time, surrounded by the bodyguards of some Lings, but Losira, he's not done yet. More Banes now on the way. 16 Lings in production at the moment. Oh, I can't even click on that. That's how old this replay is. So he is going to go for attack number 2. Barracks is not going to rebuild the add-on here. A bunker is attempting to be built. Some more Banes going to try and make their way through. Jinro, will he be able to get these Marines out of there? Throws up a little bit of a split on those, what was that, like 6 Marines, and that's splitting if you've ever seen it. But the Hellions are the ones that are keeping this alive right now. Jinro is still going to have to deal with so many Lings now making their way across. It looks as if after this last bout of aggression, Losira is going to give up for now. But, God, we haven't even had time to talk about the map just yet, but we'll do that in just a second here. Jinro hasn't closed the front door just yet. The Hellions are going to be the only real line of defense that he has here. His orbital command is still not moved over to the natural. Luckily for him, the worker count is still sitting at 25 to 30, so not too bad. Jinro has done a wonderful job of keeping all of his workers alive, despite these constant incursions by the Lings, and I think now is a time where things are going to start to stabilize. So we can see now that Jinro is going to have the options to perhaps try and move back across the map after he secures his own natural base. And, you know, speaking of, we'll talk about the map just a little bit. So you guys, if you're unfamiliar with this particular map, think Whirlwind. It's a little bit like Whirlwind. If you actually have a look on the minimap there, it's a little bit similar to Whirlwind in the fact that you've got, you know, your natural base. It's obviously this jungle tile set as well. You've got your natural base, your third, actually that's not the third, what am I thinking? The third's down here, it's actually covered by rocks, which is a little bit pesky for Zerg players in particular. Of course, we haven't actually seen Losira try and target down the rocks yet, but that was one thing which you would always see in these kinds of maps back in the day, is that third bases would either be protected or covered by rocks at the time, or they would be held back behind a set of rocks. Very similar to Acheron Waste in that regard, in that you have to knock down some rocks to get to the third base. But in this case, you know, of course, our third base has got some rocks on top of it, 2,000 health there for the rocks, so they have to be knocked down by a huge amount of the Lings there, of course, or roaches may come out. But yeah, this is one feature of Tal'Darim Altar that really made this a little bit of a contentious map for Zerg players. However, in ZVZ, of course, you did see a lot of Ling Bane. There is no ramp from the natural to the main. As we can see, there is just a small, basically like a small, little, I don't know, gateway here that you just need to run through. And this is also a very difficult part of PvP as well. It was just a 4-gate city, this map. Just constantly seeing 4 gates. This map, I can't remember how long it stayed around for, but it was for quite a while, if I remember correctly. Kind of similar to how Whirlwind works. That, you know, people just generally kind of get used to it. But as you can see here, Jinro is starting to take advantage of the fact that the map allows people to actually get in here and do some damage to the natural. But Losira nicely prepared, drops in a couple of Banes, and will be able to take down most of this. Jinro keeping alive a lot of his units, though, will be able to continuously harass this. But as you can see, he is still just bounding around, just trying to find the right spot to drop into. Lings and Banes running across, and Jinro, the micro is strong with this one. As you can see, he is being very risky with some of these units. He will drop down on the low ground, trying to see if he can gain some room here. Just look at that, just a little bit of micro. He's trying to get the Marine into position so that the Hellion can fire up on the high ground at it. But behind all of this, he's been able to get his macro on. We've got lots of SCVs now out for the Guerrilla Terran. We've got 41 SCVs in total, 42 now, along with more Marines now on their way. Their stim is all done. No weapons on the ready for Jinro just yet. So we're still sitting on 0-0 for his upgrades. But Losira, stuck on 2 bases for a short while, is now forced to try and get into a spire on 2 bases, and this, you know, this is a real problematic part of this map. If you're not able to take that 3rd base a lot quicker and you know, destroy the rocks, and you can constantly come under fire because the Terran player can rally across, they can gain vision of the high ground here and just constantly shoot into this position. So we'll see how Jinro handles this. Baneling's coming along, stims up and takes a few of them out. Very nicely done, but he is just going to sit here for a little while. What do you expect? Yeah, I was going to say, we'd expect to see some tanks make their way across, and they do. And what normally happens at this point is that the Terran player, if they're able to, they will try and secure a position with a couple of turrets and this kind of thing. And it just becomes this hilariously, I suppose, unfortunate situation for a Zerg player where you've got tanks, you've got Marines, you've got, you know, turrets and these kinds of things protecting this position. And in fact, yeah, there are a few of those SCVs, so perhaps you might be doing a Viking and a few medevacs scouting the high ground. The Marines going to town on a couple of queens there, and Jinro is just rallying everything across, very similar to today's Widowmine Marine medevac kind of play, just constantly rallying everything through. But Losira has now got some of those mutalisks out. We've got the Lings now rolling across, veins splitting up to try and deal with the various groups of Marines that have stayed alive for now. But Jinro, his reinforcements just constantly coming along. Those SCVs have not built up any turrets just yet, so this could turn around here for Jinro. So the mutalisks will come through. The Marines are constantly just slamming apart those mutalisks as they do back off for now, but the rocks are being taken down, and Losira can finally take his 3rd base here, as we see the worker count at the moment currently sitting at 52 to 49. Jinro still sitting on 2 bases, but he is able to set up a wonderful economy. We've got that extra production here as well. We'll probably see him set down another command center very soon, and he was looking to build a bunker there. I don't think that's going to happen, unfortunately, for Jinro. This tank is getting a little bit low, so is this one here as well. The Mutalisks bouncing around. I don't even have like my health bars on. We actually there we go. I'll just turn that on like that for the moment. And actually, hang on. What we'll do is I'll just manually do it when you need to see them. But Jinro still rallying units across. 101 supply for him. 91, 93 now for Losira. So he's doing his best to try and keep in this game. What I would like to see from him is perhaps, you know, a small run by, just making its way out of this side of the map like we saw at the start of the game. If he can perhaps intercept some of these units before they're able to join up with a large clump of units over here on the opposite side of the map, then he can certainly slow down some of the reinforcements. Oh, okay, there you go. He is going to do that. He's going to head through the top left-hand side, trying to avoid the Zelnaga Watchtower here in the middle. Of course, for the uninitiated, this map has 4 Zelnaga Watchtowers. Basically controls the entire vision of this map here, and it was, you know, it was something that was very, very popular during the early weeks of Liberty, was having maps that had tremendous amounts of vision. And as you can see, Losira does get inside the natural base, takes down a couple of the SCVs, but unfortunately, it will be stomped by a few of those Marines that did come across, and they will stem off and try and deal with the rest of the leads. They do clean them up now, but as I was saying, lots of Zelnaga towers was a really big part of early weeks of Liberty. We saw maps like Kulas Ravine that had, I think it had 8 Zelnaga Watchtowers. I'm not even kidding. If you're not sure what I'm talking about, jump on Battle.net and have a look at Kulas Ravine. That map had insane amounts of watchtowers, but as you can see, Jinro was sieged up the natural. Losira, not one to want to battle that. Of course, it is very hard to engage that Marine tank setup that Jinro had. He decides to go around the back and will engage with the SCVs, the Marine, and, well, pretty much everything here. Jinro, with a little bit of micro, is just repairing up some of his SCVs and keeps the majority of them alive. The worker count, however, has dipped for our Terran player down to 29, and is starting to slowly lose his position here at the natural base, but he has been able to constantly wreck the mining here of Losira, and now these Marines, +1 on their weapons, no +2 in sight at the moment. Jinro struggling for his minerals at the moment, just constantly producing Marines. Stims up again. Medivacs are going to try and heal up those Marines as best as they can, but Losira now down in his main base has lost basically all of his minerals, but here come the mutas, here come the Lings, going to try and take away as many of those Marines as possible. Jinro started stepping backwards, targets down a couple of the veins, and should be able to hold those mutas back. They don't have any upgrades themselves, no carapace, no weapons or anything like that for these mutas. This has just been a constant unit fight between these two players, just trying to see who can micro best, who can get the right compositions of units all together. And so far, Jinro, with his slow siege style on the natural base, has been winning out in the fights, because Losira, despite having a nice work lead at the moment, 42-27, he is still struggling to put himself in a position to move back across the map. And that is one thing which Jinro has done wonderfully here. We can see that he has actually mined out in his main base. So Jinro does need to look at getting another command center up and running, because if this starts to turn around, then he could be in a little bit of trouble. The tank comes across, micro back quite nicely by Jinro, and we can see now that Jinro is still continuously harassing these units, forcing the mutas back, forcing the Lings to split up and try and run away, but there's still no sign of a third base here for Jinro just yet. He certainly can take out the rocks. Of course, you know, dealing with rocks is not something hard to do as a Terran player. The tanks can run Marines, they can stim up and fire down the rocks. That's not hard to do. But it's just a little bit busy at the moment, trying to micro back and forth to keep these guys alive and keep that pressure on Losira, just sort of keeping him on this side of the map. We can see on the minimap right now, this is basically this top right-hand section, this quadrant of the map is the only place that Losira has been, apart from a few of his various run-bys. And now we can see he's going to slowly start to make his way out. Railing connects with a group of those Marines, very nicely done by Losira. We can see the mutas still continuing to come across, and they are starting to dominate the skies. Now taking out one of the medevacs here, maybe going to get the numbers 2 and 3 as well. Should be able to target them down, and it looks like one of them very low on health, just a couple of bounces, and that should go down. More shot, there it goes. So there is still one medevac here with 3 health. That's not the best of planes to be on if you are traveling somewhere. But we can see that Jinro has started to slow down. He's lost a little bit of his macro power right now. He does still have constant amounts of minerals coming in from his natural base, but his Marines need to be as efficient as possible, as his Marine count is starting to dip. And now we can see that with no third base, he's going to have a little bit of a hard time trying to keep this offensive in play. But now, with the Lings and the mutas now out on the map, he's going to start to fall down a bit in the numbers and the medevacs. Of course, the medevac count right now is currently sitting at only 3, and of course a couple of these are damaged almost beyond repair, but Jinro is going to try and heal them up. The SCVs now coming along. Medevacs, are they healed up? Yes, they are. 4 in the air now. The Marines, where are their upgrades? Still waiting a little bit on them, but Jinro is able to hold things together for now. Losira now up to a total of 45 drones. Needs to add in a few more. He's actually got 4 harvesters on that one. I don't know if you've noticed that, but does need to keep those injects going. That is one thing that he has been doing constantly very, very nicely. We can see the Queen energy is relatively low. Just dropped down a tumor. That is actually one thing which we don't see from Losira, is his creep spread. Unfortunately, because of the fact that he had to deal with the slow siege on his natural base, he has almost no creep spread. Not a single, creep tumor that has made its way out towards the middle of the map. Normally at this point you would see creep spread that far, but of course he has had a very hard time getting that kind of thing going. Mutas, speaking of which, are having a hard time dealing with these Marines, now down to a total of 3, and as the Marines still constantly rally out, it looks as if Jinro is a little bit, he's sort of preoccupying Losira with the attack across the opposite side of the map. Another group of Mutalisks is now formed up, and that flock is going to be able to do a fair amount of damage, but Jinro he's really starting to mine out this natural base. I'm very surprised he hasn't even looked at that position over there. We still haven't even had that scouted out. There's still fog of war over there. Jinro madly microing back with these Marines. Does a wonderful job of keeping them alive for now. But the mutas are now starting to come through. We'll see if Jinro can hold it together. He's got +1 on his armor on the way. Stims up these Marines, moving backwards, trying to keep as many of these guys alive as possible. But the Lings are now starting to swarm forward, starting to take out a lot of the ground units there. But keep in mind, these Lings have no upgrade. Oh wow, look at that, Jinro, come on, please. Is he going to pick that up? Oh, okay. He did for a second there. He picked up one of the Marines, and he's still doing it. Just microing back and forth, keeping those units alive. That was some impressive micro from our Team Liquid Terror player there. But he has, well, I don't know, the unit count currently shows us that there are 10 Marines out of the map. One single tank is out for the Terran player. He's going to try and heal that up a little bit. Only 5 of the medevacs out. And we can see for our Zerg player, constantly needing to reinforce his units as well. He's currently sitting on 3 mutas, lost 1 just now, and also has 25 rings out on the map, but 7 more mutas are on the way. Losira, with no tech switch in mind, no sight of fungals or anything like that, but he is having trouble keeping his own mineral count up. Not a lot of gas, but not a lot of minerals here, does Losira. In fact, both the players are really just starting to mine themselves out. Jinro, is he going to have to... I don't know, he might have to... Is he going to pull SCVs or something? I think maybe he's going to... Okay, he's going to heal up that tank, but does actually drop down an orbital command across on the left-hand side of the map. That is a pretty good decision. I mean, you don't want to have to spend time knocking down rocks, especially in such a high-octane, aggressive kind of game, where we've had the players bouncing back and forth, and of course a siege up at the earlier part of the game, where Jinro was just doing so much damage to his opponent, and didn't really have time to come across and take his third base over here. So we can see that he has sent across a couple of these SCVs over to the left-hand side base. Another advantage of this is that it's a little bit out of the way, and while Losira has spotted it, he's not going to have an easy time getting to this position, especially if Jinro is able to set up a bunker or something like that, get a couple of Marines in there. There's going to be no way to take that base down, but with that extra base now in play, Jinro is going to send across a few more of his SCVs, needs to get across there as quickly as he can with some more units as well, because Losira is now sending in some of these links. They're going to come through. Will they be able to get some damage done? It looks like there is just a single Marine here stemming up. Where is that Marine? Oh, there it is, behind the CC. The SCVs will stay alive for now. The SCV count currently sitting at 26 to the 46 drones that are out of the map, but the muta count is a big thing here. 14 mutas now out of the map for Losira. Will he be able to get some damage done? It looks like the command center is forced to lift up. Jinro, I don't know where he's moving to, but that orbital command could be in a little bit of trouble. Losira moving forward, he wants to take that out, or perhaps take out some of the other reinforcement units that Jinro has marching their way across the map. But I tell you what, there are 1-1 Marines, and of course a single tank, a few of those medevacs, and they're now on their way up through the top side. Will Jinro be able to keep his units alive, stimming back? Loses quite a few of his Marines. Splits up a little bit, does some decent splits, does lose the tank though, but the Marines are still alive, engaging their stim, charging forwards. A single Bane or 3 come out, and they will be able to take down quite a lot of the Marines. The base trade is now in effect. We've got the SCVs long distance mining from that bottom third base, but the mutas are going to be able to happily shoot them all down. Jinro, speaking of which, is now going to target down some of these drones. Losira trying to keep that single Bane alive if he can. It looks like it has been targeted down. Excellent micro there from Jinro. Losira, wow, up at 300 APM right now. We can see though that Jinro, with his 1-1 Marines, his stim all good to go, is just tearing apart all those units. And the drones have now all but died off, and Jinro may be able to push his way through here. This is going to be a very interesting battle to finish up this game here between these two players. Losira, he has decided to turn around 25 supply to 40. Of course, a lot of that is in those mutalisks. Of course, if the mutalisks fall down, then Losira is going to fall down himself. But here he comes. He's coming back. It's like we need the final flight of the Valkyries or something like that playing in the background, because this could be the final battle. And here we go. Jinro stimming up. He goes to town. Is he targeting them down? It looks like the answer is no, but he will be able to get a lot of damage done. And the muta count falls down. It is going to fall down to a total of 3, and Losira has left the game. So, wow, what an intense game between these two players. Losira falls down to Jinro in this very old vintage game from 2011. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you enjoyed Jinro back in his heyday. Make sure you say hello to him on Twitter. It's @LiquidJinro. I'll catch you all next time. Here, as you can see, 47 damage to bio units, and then the 34 damage against other standard targets. His storms have also been wonderful, just spreading them out across the battlefield, doing really, really nicely there. And for minigun, he's been sticking with a much more